Hello, welcome to Gun Detail. In this video, we're talking about the Springfield XDM, a handgun that's gotten no shortage of attention over the last couple years due to its popularity. We're going to talk about the accessories the gun comes with. We'll do some shooting at the range. I want to talk about the features of the gun and also touch on a couple pros and cons. I hope you enjoy the video. Thank you. So to get started here, the gun does come with this hard plastic case, which is itself noteworthy because most guns come with something much more small and basic, or some don't include one at all. So this is just one less thing you have to buy. It does have these little holes here, so you can put a small padlock through there to keep the gun locked and stored inside of this case. Oddly enough, on the side you have these Picatinny rails, and these are actual Picatinny rails. I think they're just largely cosmetic. I can't think of a practical application for them, but they're there. In the back here, this just tears down. You have your literature and your owner's manual. So in the back of my manual, I actually keep a running log of all shots fired, as well as I write down the date of every time I clean the gun. It's just good to have there as a point of reference. Now the gun itself, we have here, there's no magazine in the gun and it is clear, so it's not loaded. Comes with two magazines, interchangeable back straps, the gun lock, and some other things. You have a holster, a magazine pouch, and then the speed loader. Now you see two gaping holes here. One here, this was just a styrofoam insert that I peeled out to store miscellaneous junk. And then this I actually cut out because I went ahead and bought a Viridian X5L Gen 2 green laser flashlight. These are definitely worth the money. This really deserves its own video, so this will actually be the next one I put up. I'll put a link to it right up here in this video when it's done, but it should be done in a week or two. So getting more in depth here, the magazines, now this is a 40 caliber gun. These hold 16 rounds, so in 40 that's quite a lot. The 9mm version holds 19, and then the 45 holds 13. So in all three calibers, it's a very high magazine capacity compared to what other guns are out on the market today. It does come with two magazines, like I said. You have interchangeable back straps, which are actually a big deal. Now Springfield was doing this at a time really no other gun manufacturer was, or very few were. So, and the reason it's a big deal is because your hand size really is going to dictate what guns you can shoot well and which ones are just uncomfortable. I have medium to medium large hands, so from here to here is about 7.5 inches. So it's a little bit larger than most people and smaller than some. So for me, the medium felt great. But the problem I ran into is my index finger would actually touch my thumb when I pulled the trigger, so this was a nuisance. I put the large on, and at first I thought it was going to be too big, but I was wrong. So it actually fits my hand quite well, and with a good grip, you can see there's still a little bit of room there on the side. But part of the reason my thumb was touching my trigger finger is you have this notched out here, and that's for ergonomic reasons. And I like that. When you're doing one-handed shooting or for whatever reason, you have your thumb there, it just allows you to get a better purchase on the gun itself. Now that said, it does bring your finger closer to the trigger, so when you pull the trigger, you see how close my fingers are together. So with the medium, my thumb was getting in the way, and the small, it just doesn't work at all. But with the large, it works out great for me. And this is a big reason why interchangeable back straps are so important, because at first, when I initially rented the gun, before I purchased it, I tried it with the medium, and it felt great at first. But as time went on, the thumb thing came to light, and you know, it needed to be fixed. So that's just one reason why you need to have interchangeable back straps or grip sizes of some kind that can be changed. So moving on, it comes with the lock. It's pretty standard. You have a cleaning brush here. You're going to want to actually buy a cleaning kit. This is just not sufficient. And then an Allen wrench. That Allen wrench is to adjust the tension in your holster and your mag pouch. Now, the holster itself is good for what it's intended to be, and that is a level 1 passive retention only holster. That is, there's no actual mechanical mechanism latching the gun in place. It's just pressure fit, mostly around the trigger guard here, so it just pops into place. And you can adjust the tension with that bolt right there. Now, if you're in a state where you can open carry or something, this is not ideal because someone could sneak up behind you or get it away from you in some kind of altercation, and you don't want that. You want an actual mechanism in place there that locks the gun, whether it be here or what have you. So, but as a good starter holster, it comes with it, and again, it's just one less thing that you have to buy. So it also does come with this mag pouch, which you can see is contoured to more easily fit your body. This tension screw right here adjusts the tension on your magazines, and I keep mine quite loose. You can put yours for however you want. But on the side of the mag pouch, you have a Picatinny rail, and why you'd want that there is because your speed loader actually can fit right on the side. Now, at first when you get this, it's very tight, so you're going to have to spend some time to loosen this up. Just run it through, 50 or 100 times, and it gets pretty loose. So, but the speed loader is a real finger saver because, again, these are high capacity magazines, and once you get past number, 10 or 12 or so, that spring starts to get very tight. So, and I have 5 magazines, and at the range you load up 5 magazines, your fingers hurt a little bit. So this saves time and it saves your fingers. So I like it. And actually you can use this with a lot of different guns. The magazines will work with it, 9mm or 40. So it's kind of a big deal. Now if you already have a gun and you don't have one of these, you can buy these aftermarket. They're not expensive. Just go to your gun store. But let's go to the range real quick and do a little bit of shooting. The Springfield XDM will end up costing you in the neighborhood of something about $650 to $750, just depending on the prices of your local gun store, what color you decide to buy, or what variation of the XDM you decide to purchase. Now, for example, this is the 4.5-inch version. There's also a 5.25-inch competition version, which just takes the barrel length out to about here, and then the 3.8-inch version, which chops off the overhang right here, and then the compact version of it, which also cuts off about 1 inch of the grip. And then on that one, it actually comes with, like all of them, 2 magazines. One of the magazines being the shorter one for the shortened grip, and the second being a full-size magazine with a grip extension built onto it. So it's almost like having 2 guns in one. The shorter gun, better for concealed carry, and then the full-size grip, better for at the range practicing, or for your home defense gun. So you just get all your fingers around it instead of having your pinky overhang. Now, the build of the gun, it's about 32 ounces. It's a polymer frame, plastic, call it what you want. It's technically not plastic, it is polymer, there's a difference. And then a forged steel upper for the slide. Now, everything in the gun that needs to be metal is metal. It's built very well. The fit and finish is great. Springfield did a great job. It's a melanite coating here. Now, melanite is going to give you some corrosion resistance. It's going to be a little bit thicker than some other finishes out there. It's going to stand up a little bit better as well. That doesn't mean it's perfect though. Anything is going to wear, nothing will stand up to everything. So after 2 years, you'd see a little bit of wear right here, and then a little bit here on my takedown lever and then my slide stop lever, but that's really not a big deal. The finish is holding up quite well. I've not scratched it at all, and I've actually scratched other surfaces with it, one being my slate stone coffee table here. Now, in between filming little segments here, cooking dinner, I had a mishap in the kitchen, so now we get to see the Band-Aid, but whatever. So Springfield really likes to talk up their aggressive texture on the grip. That really helps reduce the amount of slippage. Now, this is hard polymer, so if your hands are sweating or they get wet or you're bleeding, okay, and that gets on there, you know, it is going to get a little slick. So there's aftermarket products you can buy if this is an issue for you. But otherwise, with a proper grip on the gun, even if this is wet, it's really not going to be an issue, okay? The ergonomics of it, it feels great. It just kind of sinks in your hand. And it's partly because you're going to get a good size just because of the interchangeable back straps, as well as you have this beveled out here for the thumbs. It just feels good. The grip angle, it just all feels right. Now, the magazine release, as you can see, is ambidextrous, and you get a positive release or a positive ejection. So it's under spring pressure. You see that it just pops up upside down. And you want that. That way it's just guaranteed to drop free and clear, hassle-free. This is beveled inside of here, so you can just more easily drive that home, snag-free. The trigger, Springfield calls this their target trigger, and it's rated at 5.5 to 7.7 pounds. When I first got this 2 years ago, it was a little bit on the stiff side, and it's loosened up since then. It feels pretty good. Now, if you see here, it does have a relatively short reset and an audible reset. Okay, now that could be louder and more sharp, okay, but it is there. The trigger itself feels good. It breaks clean. Okay, it's not as good as, say, the Walther PPQ or, like I said, some kind of a aftermarket trigger, but it is good, especially for a stock trigger. No need to really replace it. Now, this is a groove trigger guard here, so if you like to get your finger around that, just to help manage recoil, you can. You have a Picatinny rail, which I utilize. Like I mentioned, I have this Viridian X5L, and we'll have a different video on that, but your takedown lever, it sticks out far enough so you can use that as well to help manage recoil. Thumbs forward, grip like you're supposed to have, you can just get your thumb on that pretty easily. Now to take the gun down, it's really as simple as it gets. There's no dry firing involved at all. So here's your match grade barrel, and then your spring and your guide rod. So just all goes together and comes apart pretty easily. That's all there is to it. Now my big gripe with the gun is the slide release lever, because it sticks out this far. Okay, if you're with your thumbs forward like they're supposed to be, if your thumb's resting on that at all, which a lot of guys do, the slide simply will not lock open with an empty mag like it's supposed to. You have to have your thumb away from that. You can train around that, but I wish Springfield had made this smaller or at least recessed a little bit. But it's really not an issue. So as far as safeties on the gun, it's pretty safe. You have right here a grip safety, and I know a lot of guys don't like that, but with the ergonomics of this, you're going to have a good purchase on the grip. So this has to be depressed for the trigger to pull. If it's not, this trigger simply will not pull, period. Now on the trigger you have a little thing there, so that also has to be depressed. So with this pushed in, this trigger will not pull unless that's pushed in as well. Now there's a third safety, it's internal. You can't see it. It's a striker drop safety. So you can actually hear it when I pull the trigger, just the first stage, and you see it's not firing, okay? But something's happening, you can hear it. It's disengaging that drop safety. So, you know, if the gun were to drop, this can't accidentally drop on a round. The striker, I mean, cannot drop on a round. Now, the striker, you can see if it's cocked. You have this indicator back here, and that's really not a big deal, but you have a loaded chamber indicator, which I really like. And I'll show you. This is a snap cap. It's just a little piece of aluminum the size of a bullet with a little rubber stop in there. So that's good for dry firing, so you don't stress your striker retainer pin as much. But now you can see with it chambered, okay, that sticks up, and that's great. So if you're in a situation where it's dark and you need to defend yourself and you can't do a brass check to make sure it's loaded, or you're uncertain, you can just feel that and tell something's in there. If that's up, something's in there. So now for safety purposes, I would never want to rely on this being down. If I wanted to make sure the gun was safe, I would always check inside of there, or just cycle it just to make sure. So the 3-dot sights that come with the gun are well made. They're all metal. They're not going to break. Now, they're not adjustable for windage or elevation, and in a low light situation, they're going to be hard to see. So they're dovetailed into the gun, so which means they're replaceable. So you can get whatever aftermarket sights you might want to get for it. Overall, though, I'm very happy with the gun. I like it. I've not had any issues with it. I have about 2,000 rounds through it. I'd recommend it to anyone. If you're considering a handgun of this kind or of this type, the Springfield XDM is definitely something to consider. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.